him to lead us in the 5-way test, pledge, and prayer. And then Laura Nick is going to do guest introductions for us. So Melissa.
Hello. We'll start with the 5-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it bid goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And is it fun? Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for this beautiful day. We ask you for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we walk through this journey called life. Please keep our hearts and minds open to accept your grace and love. Amen. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, Rotarians. Great to see you today. I'm excited to welcome a couple of guests. So please stand when I say your names. We have Lanisha Jones, who is a guest of Sylvia Murchison. Donnell Meadows, who is a guest of Chris Mango. Debbie Goolsby, who is a guest of Bill Goolsby. And lastly, Kristen Knogsfest. Did I say that right? Close. Okay. Who is here with Debbie Davis. So welcome, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Melissa and Laura. Well, it's good to be back. I feel like it's been a minute. We had Thanksgiving, and then I was out of town for a work thing, so kudos and that big thank you to past President Christina Bolhouse, who filled in for me. Thank you, Christina. And then last week, we had our adventures out from the library, which were fabulous. So definitely wanted to kind of give a shout out to everybody that participated, and I'm going to call it Choose Your Own Rotary Adventure last Tuesday. Some of you guys went to the Broyles Awards and enjoyed that. Past President Jeff Hildebrand runs the show over there and had a great event. And then a lot of you joined us at Breckenridge Village, so a big thank you to past President Hank Kelly, who led a great program on what's happening out in the new and improved Breckenridge Village. We had Eat My Catfish, and Hank took us on a tour of the property and all the great things that are happening over there. So thank you guys for coming out and doing that. It was a really fun program. Also, huge thank you to Service Chairman Dan Parker. Dan organized an evening of service at the Arkansas Food Bank, and several of you guys, a lot of you guys in the audience today were there, so thank y'all for doing that. It's obviously one of their busy seasons over at the food bank, so they need all hands on deck, so thanks for getting that going, Dan. And then a huge thank you to all the 50 Club 99ers who just made a Kiddos Day downstairs at the Salvation Army, the Angel Tree. Everybody just dropped off their gifts for the kiddos, and I saw a ton of bikes and really cool things. So thank y'all so much. What a gift that is to those kids and those families. So really appreciate you guys stepping up. And we had, Karen sent out an email and said, hey, we've got like 7 angels left. And I mean, within like 30 seconds, you guys responded and took those. So thank y'all so much, really. Thank you. Thank you. And finally, just a quick shout out, and you have all of this in your newsletter, guys, but definitely Gibbs Magnet, we need you guys for the literacy lab. We still need some volunteers that will step up, and you can take 1 to 2 days. You can kind of let us know what's good for you and work with us, but from 7:30 to 8, 1 to 2 days a week for about 6 weeks, we're going to be tutoring, reading to some kids over at Gibbs Magnet. This is part of Mitch Bettis's program, the literacy lab that he is really really kicked off for us and poured a lot of energy and time into. So if you guys have that time, it's not going to take a lot. It's right first thing in the morning before you get your day going. Please let us know, let myself, Karen, or Mitch know, and we'll get you going on that. And Aaron, thanks. I saw Aaron somewhere here. Yeah, Aaron Lubin. Aaron, has a great ties to Gibbs and has really helped forge that partnership. So we're really wanting to make a strong showing there. So thank you, Aaron, for your leadership on that. All right, so for our guests today, this year's Club 99 theme is the power of fun. And so each week I kind of give a little fun tip for us and talk about the power of fun in our lives. So here in a few minutes, you're going to hear from two women, Dr. Wakefield and Dr. Cox, and they really are a wealth of knowledge when it comes to navigating life and creating authentic relationships. But part of that work is reducing resentment in our lives and relationships, which really opens the door for more of the true fun moments that we've been talking about. So in her book, The Power of Fun, Catherine Price says that resentment is at the top of the list when it comes to universal fun killers. It is a killer of fun. So it destroys your ability to have fun with the person you're feeling, resentful toward. And in general, we all know that resentment is a toxic emotion that, if left unresolved, can really poison other situations as well. So resentment is unfortunately a common feeling among adults, particularly caregivers. And we all know during the holidays that really brings us out the caregiving part. We're either taking care of kids or aging parents and all the things while trying to still have a festive and merry holiday. So it's a little bit overwhelming. But the thing to remember about resentment, well, there's lots of things to remember, and if you need more of that, you need to go see Dr. Wakefield. But the one I want to talk about today is this lesson that having true fun in your life is really important to relieve some of the stress and resentment that inevitably comes with just being a human in a relationship with someone else, whether that's a spouse or your child or your parent or a sibling. So making time to pour more into the people we love and to create those true fun moments together helps us get through the times that we feel resentful due to all the invisible labor, that we are doing and may or may not be sharing with our spouse or sibling or loved one. So the fact is that more true fun we have, including those three components that we've talked about, connectiveness, playfulness, and flow, the stronger our relationships are. So in this fun yet chaotic and sometimes emotionally draining holiday season, look for those true fun moments with your loved ones and consider proactively planning those and ensuring that they really are a part of your routine along with those that you care most about. So let's see who is having fun this week with our member video. I think you guys will enjoy this one.
I'm Stephen Clift, and I'm a physician specialized in gastroenterology, and I retired in July of 20. After 40 years of practice, I started a group called Arkansas Gastroenterology. In high school, my dad was asked from Alcoa to go over and take somebody's place that was sick for 3 months in Holland. And of course, I was dying to go, but he said, no, my mom and I are going, you're gonna stay here with your brothers, take care of your brothers. Well, anyhow, fast forward, next thing I know, I'm over in Holland and say, here I am, Dad. So that started my adventure. I was there 6 weeks and just got hooked on travel. The landmark trip I took was in 1973. During this time, I met my wife-to-be. She was an airline hostess, and she was traveling with 2 other people, and we struck up a conversation, got to Cairo, and they said, where's your visa? I'm still pretty green and just didn't have a visa. So they sort of claimed me as one of them, and next thing I know, I'm sort of with their group. I didn't have the money to come back to Little Rock, and she loaned me $80, and as she says, I paid it back dearly. Finally came to either we're gonna have to get together or we won't. She called me with a collect call, and I just asked her to marry me, and she said, sure. Next morning, her flight mate was said, "Who was that?" And he said, "Well, that was Stephen." I said, "What did he say?" He says, "I think he asked me to marry him." And so next thing we know, we've got 2 kids. I guess at heart, I'm pretty much a collector. And the tie thing, you know, we had a program where we were required to wear ties. And so everybody rebelled against that. So I always got sort of outrageous looking ties and would wear those as sort of a protest. And it was fun. I have a collection of over 500. And probably my favorite ones are the ones that are seasonal. For Christmas, it was easy. After Thanksgiving, I'd start wearing Christmas ties, and a different one every day. And I had some Thanksgiving ties, and I had some Halloween ties. I had some 4th of July ties. Got a big Elvis one with a big guitar on it that is shaped like a guitar. And I've got a sealskin tie, and I've got a wooden tie that I don't wear because it chokes me. But anyhow, it's a conversation piece. The scrapbooking, it just gave me a way to organize my trips. I have about 200 scrapbooks. I've been scrapbooking since before I even got married, which was in 1974. I'm now married to a gal that we got together and have carried on the traveling.
Does she like scrapbooking?
No. She does not like scrapbooking. She thinks that's weird.
Thank you, Steve. That cracked me up, that last part, that I think you love scrapbooking, but your wife doesn't. I get that. And I love that you caught on to the rebellion as part of true fun, you know, rebelling with your crazy ties. I love that. Thank you for sharing. All right, so I'd now like to ask Kelly Bass, Chief Executive Officer of Museum Discovery, to come to the podium to talk about today's program. Kelly?
All right, folks, December the 12th, 13 days until Christmas. And that means a lot of family coming around or us heading to their place. So I think it seems like the perfect time to reflect on how we react to relatives who, for lack of a better phrase, just get all over our last nerve. From politics, ouch, and religion, to pie Nazis and bossy pants, today's program, Keeping the Peace, Have a Merry, Not Hairy Christmas, will help us understand how our kinfolks get our goats and explore some ways we can manage the frustration to enjoy a memorable and happy holiday season. Moderated by Club 99er Adrienne Collins, this panel will feature Dr. Terry Cox Meadows, also a member of our club, who will speak to the neuroscience behind our feelings, and Dr. Chelsea Wakefield, who will help us work on our coping skills. So a little bit more about our participants today. Our moderator, Adrienne Collins, serves as Director of DEI and People Strategy for Lovesac, a company that is dedicated to bringing total comfort and sustainability to homes everywhere and designing products that are built to last a lifetime. Adrienne began her human resources career in the U.S. Army and the U.S. Air Force. She led the Military Human Resources Department, overseeing all aspects of HR, DEI, and knowledge management. She's a disabled and decorated veteran, and for more than 23 years, she's worked in public transit, manufacturing, nonprofits, and telecommunications. She's also the owner of AC Productions, LLC, a consulting firm that specializes in HR, DEI, and IT. Interesting combination. Dr. Terry Cox Meadows has worked as a communication trainer for several business management teams, including Union Rescue Mission, Centennial Bank, and the Arkansas State Chamber's Workforce Development Be Pro, Be Proud team. She also serves as Executive Board President for the Sherwood Chamber of Commerce. Terry is a member of Rotary Club 99 and founder of Daryl's Music Makers, a nonprofit organization providing hope and a future for children around the world through music and education. She continues to work with public, private, and charter schools, training and vision casting with educators. She specializes in the neuroscience of education and exceptional learners, and she has been fortunate to work in 6 countries so far, and she looks forward to going to many other places. So you fit right in with our fun lover. Chelsea Wakefield, Dr. Chelsea Wakefield is an associate professor in the Department of Psychiatry at UAMS, where she teaches and supervises the next generation of psychiatrists. and provides continuing education for licensed mental health practitioners. She also has a private practice in Little Rock where she sees couples working to resolve relationship conflicts and create a more meaningful emotional and sexual connection. She is the author of 3 books, the most recent being The Labyrinth of Love, The Path to a Soulful Relationship. So thank you 3 for serving as our panel today. I know I speak for my fellow Club 99ers when I say we look forward to learning some coping mechanisms from you all today. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm so excited about this. Welcome, Dr. Terry and Dr. Chelsea. Am I saying Dr. Chelsea, right? That's fine. Okay, is that okay? Okay. How we're talking about keeping the peace and how to have a merry, not hairy holiday season. So if you two don't mind, can you just give us a brief introduction of like what you all do today?
Well, that was a great introduction, and Christmas and this season is always a very interesting time as a psychotherapist because your practice is either completely swamped with people calling saying help, help, or everybody's too busy to come. So we do a lot of coaching of how to get through holidays and how to actually have an enjoyable time.
Awesome.
So I am an executive coach, and I work a lot in the neuroscience of how our brain processes inputs and retrieves, which is what allows me to work with leadership and communication and those awkward conversations that all of us have to have at some point, but we're not sure how to start them or how to get through them or how to end them. And so I love working in the communication realm, and I am a neuroscience junkie. So everything today that I do, I need you to fully understand I am a doctor of nerds, not a doctor of medicine, but I work with neuroscience a lot. And so that's how I got to be in this space and place today.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate both of you being here today. So in the spirit of fun, we are going to share a quick clip from one of my favorite movies, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And it is, I think, on the money when it comes to our topic today. So if you'll go ahead and roll that beautiful beam footage, we would appreciate that.
That's a Christmas present from a very dear friend of mine.
Look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
Ho, 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 ho.
Folks, Merry Christmas.
Look at how big you got, baby.
Merry Christmas. Oh, Mom.
Knock on the door.
You promise? You promise?
Of course
You
I do.
promise?
Say, you know, they took a pint of fluid out of my lower back.
You see this mole? This mole on my neck? You think it's changing color?
No.
Your dad
Well, you
says
keep
it
touching it, it's getting redder.
I got hemorrhoids. Can you believe that?
Oh, Mother.
Isn't that terrible?
You're not getting
After
the garage
what
space.
you did
No,
to my
hold on.
automobile. I'm doing the parking. Russ, you want to help me?
Mommy, they're not sleeping in my room. I want to go crazy, Mother.
Sweetheart, your grandma Nora's got a real painful burr on my heel, and if you rub it for me, I'll give you a whole quarter. Okay?
A quarter.
And I'll give Audrey a quarter too, Audrey.
I'm going to put my car in the garage. No, I'm not going to leave my car. This is what Christmas is all about. I'll park the cars and check the luggage, and yeah, I'll be outside for the season.
I know we probably have all felt that way. But I thought that would be a great introduction into our topic today. So I'm going to start off with Dr. Terry. So how is it that no matter our age, accomplishments, or confidence level, many of us regress to our 12-year-old self, right? Especially during the family holiday gathering. So tell us a little bit about the science behind our feelings.
So you have neurotypical behaviors, right? And so when you walk back into that space with a sibling or a parent, you want to automatically revert to where you were in the hierarchy of the order. If you're the oldest sibling, you want them to listen to you, even if they're 50, right? You want to have that pattern of behavior that is comfortable for you. The hardest part is when you've become another person, when you have outgrown who you were, and your behaviors have outgrown who you were, and you find yourself reverting back to those behaviors when you're pressed and stressed that are no longer you. And then you begin to have this north and south battle, head against heart. Who do I want to be as opposed to who my psyche thinks that I'm supposed to be? And those are really, really hard times. It's why many of us go into a holiday season, especially into a trip or a travel or a place with familiarity, and we begin to push back mentally. I don't want to go. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be around these people. There's a reason why my family lives in a different state than me. Right. Oh, that's just me. Sorry.
Same here.
So, yeah. No, we just have a neurotypical behavior. I want you to understand that if you want to reprogram that, it takes 7 years to totally re-hardwire all of those behaviors. And you have to be intentional about that re-hardwiring. Learning habits is much faster, not always much easier, but it is much faster. But to totally re-hardwire and become a new you with a new set of behaviors around you is a progress, and it takes time. It takes time.
Thank you. 7 years. That's a long
to
time.
re-hardwire. Yeah. If you think old school, or if you were to pop open the back of your phone right now, if somehow you could get open the back of your phone, which would not be a great day for you, but if you did, you would see like there's a little computer in there, right? And if that computer piece is pulled out and a new computer piece is put in, then technically your phone is refurbished, it's remodeled, it's renewed, right? So for our minds, it takes 7 years to re-hardwire all of that stitching. So it takes time. It takes a lot of practice and repetition, which I'm sure that you can speak to. In making habits can be made in a much faster time frame. But the repetition of those habits and the rewiring so your brain doesn't get stuck at trauma pieces or that resentment piece that we were talking about, those kinds of things can put up roadblocks for us, and we have to rewire around them. Yeah.
And we definitely have to give ourselves grace, right?
Every day. And maybe that's just me too, but no, grace and mercy are super important for ourselves and for other people around us. I mean, truly, honestly, nobody wakes up within a given day and thinks, oh, how can I mess somebody's life up today? How can I make them absolutely miserable? But if you feel like your little sister or your little brother still does that, even when you're well past that young age, no, they probably don't. It's just that needling behavior that they may have with you, that picking on behavior that they may have with you, that thing that they know that nobody else knows, that they still want to press on and cause a rise out of you. Those things are ingrained behavior patterns. And hopefully they're not using them maliciously, but I'm sure sometimes they do. And that's a problem. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So, Dr. Chelsea, can you kind of give us some practical tips as to how we can all remain calm under pressure in this holiday season?
It depends on the kind of family that you come from, because some of you have wonderful families, and I do want to acknowledge that you are looking forward to getting together. I know it's always fun to have the kids come home. There are a lot of sibling issues that can go on in families, and I think it's really helpful to actually have some pre-holiday conversations about the guidelines under which we're going to be together, and also to have some pre-planned activities that tend to lighten the mood. A couple of them that I love is the gingerbread house construction competition, which can be really, really fun. You can even drop the competition part if that's not good in your family, but to actually have people build gingerbread houses with all the materials and then present their gingerbread house to the other people and explain what the house is about. I think going back to some of the old group games that we used to play when we were kids, things like charades or Pictionary. Having structured activities can really help. Asking people to come with a favorite childhood memory that they can share around the dinner table, which can help to redirect conversations. Sometimes it's impossible to say, as in the clip, we're not going to talk about health issues, we're not going to talk about unresolved sibling grudges or resentments that we have carried for 45 years. We're not going to talk about politics or religion. And one of the things which is a kind of a radical thing that my family used to practice, is when we had the one particular person who could not resist getting on one of those topics, we would all just start singing Jingle Bells. So that tend to derail that conversation. It's harder when you get cornered in the kitchen by the sibling who wants to pick on you, or someone who wants to ask you why you're not married yet, or why you haven't had kids yet, or these kinds of questions that tend to happen in difficult family dynamics. I think it's good to prepare a response in addition or in advance. And also, it's really great if you have a spouse to set up a situation where the spouse can suddenly pop in and say, I need you for a minute. And they can literally scoop you out of a conversation that you're wanting to get out of, but you have to plan this in advance. The other thing that helps a lot during Christmas is get outside. Go take a walk. Take a breather. Get as much rest as you can, drink a lot of water, and see if you can limit your alcohol intake, even though when you're in stressful situations, it tends to make you want to drink. So those are some thoughts.
That's awesome, because I was just going to mention that I spoke with a friend this morning, and she mentioned the exact same thing about, holiday times, people ask, like, why are you not married? Why don't you have kids? And I said, well, my response would be, I am drinking my water and I'm minding my business. So if you guys want to use that, feel free. It's not copywritten, it's okay. Yeah.
Hey, have your taglines for sure, and practice them ahead of time so that it's automatic for you, that it's not foreign for your brain. I love your hair, I hope you win, and leave. Like, whatever it is that you need to do to get yourself out of that space, practice those taglines ahead of time. And do lean on those people who can pull you out of that situation. We have a code word in my family that's muskrat, which means I'm about to start mole hole popping somebody on the head if somebody does not remove me from this room. And so if I just say muskrat, one of my sisters will be like, hey, let's go blank. And we exit the space. Have your people, have your words. I love it. It's fantastic.
That's awesome. I think I'm going to use that.
One more thought that I had about certain difficult conversations is that you can validate the feelings without agreeing with the topic. And so sometimes when someone is trying to push something, some information, some agenda on you, you can say things like, wow, I can see that this is really distressing for you, or I can see how invested you are in making things better. Because from their perspective, they usually are invested in it because they think this is something that's important. So you can say that, and then you can kind of say, I hope that goes well, and then just kind of scoot away. But the difference between validating feelings and agreeing with something is something that not everybody understands. And also, people don't always understand the difference between intention and impact. So sometimes things will have a really negative impact, but people they're just not self-aware. They're not realizing that when they ask you, why aren't you married, or why haven't you had kids, or, are you still living in that small house, or, I see you haven't picked up your house again for Christmas, or just the kind of comments that mothers can make or people can make. My mother used to come in and she would immediately start organizing piles on things. She would just, it's like she never said a word. She just started organizing piles, and the communication was quite clear. But you just have to kind of expect people to be people, not to have too high expectations, and just take a lot of deep breaths.
Yeah, that grace and mercy goes a long way, for sure. Okay, so I know you gave us some tips, but one thing I wanted to ask, we're in this technology phase where phones are everything. You go out and you see families, they're not even talking to each other, they're on their phones. And sometimes that happens at family gatherings. Do you have any tips that we could possibly use for, keeping people off the phones during this time?
tell them to leave them in their rooms or leave them at the door, and just make it one of the guidelines for, when you're coming in, we're here to be together, not on our phones. And just, it's just something that in our house, we were never allowing that to happen. So
There's a difference between having intelligence and having emotional intelligence, right? Emotional intelligence means that I can determine my impact on a room when I walk into it. I can determine how people are relating to me in the room. I can read the room, right? So in that emotional intelligence, there are literally times when people are oblivious to what their impact on the room is. And one of them is when they've got that phone in their hand, right? So just like we said before, having those conversations ahead of time, prepping the family for what your expectation is during Christmas meal, right? If we want to have Christmas meal together or whatever our holiday is that we celebrate together, and this mealtime is a sacred time, then phones don't come to the table. And we all come to agreement on that ahead of time. That will keep your people who are really attached to their phone, and trust me, they are there. They are present in your family, whether it's teenagers or last night, my husband, I literally had to say, hey, what are you doing right now? And he's like, I don't know. Okay. So sometimes it's just the mindlessness of the phone, watching videos or doing something that makes you laugh on that phone, but you have no idea how it's impacting people around you. And so have that holiday discussion ahead of time. Hey, no phones at the table. Put a beautifully decorated basket right there. Drop those phones in the basket, and then somebody take that basket away from that space.
Awesome. Thank you, because I definitely needed that. That question was for me. I wasn't asking for a friend. But when the holidays coming up, we typically assume the majority of the conflict comes from family and extended family, but sometimes it can be very stressful for couples. Are there any tips or guidance you can give, couples as far as dealing with these times of the holidays?
The thing about couples is that any two people come from a different culture, a different background. And even though you think you might have a similar background, there are unspoken rules and norms in all families. And I think it's really important when you're going to an in-law's house to have your spouse talk to you a little bit about what seems normal over there or what I grew up with, so that you don't inadvertently break a norm in that household. Those norms might seem somewhat crazy, but they're important to understand, and to understand a little bit more about where they came from. It's a stressful time because there's a lot of different feelings about how much we should spend on our kids. And if we talk a lot about what the history is behind why it's so important for me to limit the gifts or to shower them with gifts, at least we can have a little bit of compassion for where that's coming from. I think the idea of sitting down with children in advance and talking about what kind of holiday we should have and what this season is really about, and make sure when you're parenting, when you have kids, that they start to think about things like angel trees. What can we do for others rather than think about all the things we want to get for ourselves? What are the kinds of experiences we want to have together? We have 3 resources during the holidays. We have time, we have energy, we have money. And one of the most wonderful presents I think that people can give to another person under that tree is a little coupon that says 1 free experience of your favorite choosing with me, which can be from parents to children, which can be from spouses to spouses. Another thing that siblings can do is, if you perpetually are receiving gifts that wind up at Goodwill, have a conversation and say, hey, let's all just give to our favorite charities in somebody else's name, or choose a couple that we're particularly devoted to, and that way we're not just spending a lot of money that goes to Goodwill, to the shelf.
That's a great idea. Thank you for reminding me of that, because normally my coupon would be going gambling, and I know that's probably something I shouldn't do this holiday season. So thank you for that reminder. That's awesome. So this will be our last question. It'll be for the both of you. With all the people that we see and all the things that we do during this holiday season, as far as our expectations, what should we do in order to create good memories going into the season?
So I'll fill that one first. I can tell you that the memories are the things that are really going to matter in the end. As coming from widowhood, memories are the things that keep you moving forward in the future. I've since been remarried, and so there's a lot of memory making that happens along the way of your life. It's not going to be the thing that they received at Christmas. It's not going to be the gift that it's remembered. It's going to be the experience of those time and talents and treasures. But treasures invested in each other and making memories, right? So be present, be fully present. That means set aside the phone, set aside the list inside your head of the 10 things that you need to get done in the next 5 days, and be present for conversations. Take those walks together, do the things that are going to give you memories to look back on that are fun, because fun connects to a part of the brain that has a big pathway. Your mind will remember novelty very quickly. So do something different. Do something novel, make people laugh, and then cherish those memories. And if you can, have somebody take a picture when it's okay for the phones to be out, because you want to look back on those things. You really do. Yeah.
I agree with a lot of what you said. I think that the moments that we remember in the past were the moments of laughter. They're the moments when the gingerbread house fell apart. Or I remember growing up and being with a group of family and cousins, and we were playing a game called Pit on the floor, grabbing and trying to gather portfolios of different stock options from the stock market. And everyone was just laughing and screaming and just tumbling all over each other. And it's one of my most embedded memories of that particular evening. They will remember those moments of laughter. So to bring it in, say to people in advance, bring a favorite memory. What are a couple of your favorite memories from gatherings in the past? And plan something where you're going to have some fun. And make it memorable. Presence, what you said, is so very, very important. Really just being with people, listening deeply, validating who they are, what's really important to them, even if it's not important to you, even if you disagree with them. Find a moment of connection where the two of you can be on the same page.
I would also say, if you're facing hard this year, maybe you're facing the first big holiday without a loved one that's going to be present at the table. Don't try to ignore it, because ignoring it makes it bigger in your brain, because you're trying to push back against that negative, right? So bring back that favorite memory, one that will make people laugh. Don't just try to ignore, because ignore is not going to work. Do something to honor and to bring forth joy, even through the hard. And that helps a heart to heal and makes a mind-heart connection, which maybe we've pushed off for a while because we're afraid it'll send us over an emotional cliff. But actually, it's the thing that helps bring healing.
Great way to, finish that up. I appreciate you both being here. And since we do have two experts here, is there any questions out in the audience? If there is, we have a microphone that is coming around.
Is it on? It is. So my question is a logistics question, and I bet a lot of people have faced the same thing, and I do appreciate all of your tips, and I do have to say thank you for that last thing you just said. I lost my mother this year, and it's going to be a tough one. But I am having some parties and some different things, and it seems like every time you have an event at your house, everyone wants to pile into the kitchen. It's where they feel, I think, the most safe. And you, meanwhile, are trying to do stuff, and your Aunt Mary is trying to tell you how to carve the turkey, and it just all gets out of hand, and you're just about to blow. How can you keep people out of your kitchen? I mean, am I the only one that has dealt with this?
My simple tip, and I'll turn it over to the real expert on that. My simple tip is give people jobs. Give them jobs.
That's even worse, because it's always in the kitchen.
No. Give them a job and assign them a space for that, okay?
Yeah,
even
like
if it's at the farthest end.
Front porch?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, don't be afraid to send people outside. I would totally send my relatives outside. Okay, maybe not. What have you got? What's best?
I think you need a human sheepdog. In other words, somebody that's going to round everybody up and get them involved in some sort of an activity outside of the kitchen. Yeah. Or they might be in advance rule that in the last half hour before we serve, no one is to cross this line.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to speak your truth gently, right? Truth and love. Otherwise, it's not going to be received. But it's a simple, hey, guys, for the next 15 minutes, I need 2 people, so-and-so and so-and-so. You guys stay with me. The rest of you, will you please go make sure that everything else out there is ready? Give us the last 15 minutes. Speak your truth in kindness and love. Yeah.
We have another question in the back.
So I have a question about teenagers. I have 3 teenagers, and Christmas used to be a lot of fun, and now it's like they want to steal my joy. And so I want to know how to get teenagers excited about being with the family, about doing the Christmas things. Because when you talk about phones, I mean, that's all I think of is my teenagers just sit on the couch, the whole family is together talking, and my teenagers are in another world. So how do we get them engaged without them thinking that we're getting on their nerves?
I think you have to start early with that. It's too late. I know, it's too late for a lot of people. However, if you have some sort of a structured activity later on that you say you need to participate in this for 30 minutes, then you can go get on your phone or whatever, or you need to participate in the conversation about favorite. So you give them assignments that are limited in time. And then, it's sort of like catch and release. You capture them, then you let them go because they can't tolerate more than a certain set of times. I really do think the family conversation in advance of the holidays about what do we want to experience together. Let's just talk about what the kinds of activities we might want to do together. What kind of experience do you want to have, and how are we thinking about others is a really important sit-down conversation in advance of the holiday.
For sure, that communication is the biggest part with teenagers, and understanding the expectation about adulting, right? So the biggest part of a teenage brain wants to be an adult before it is an adult. But if you want to be an adult, then we have to start having adult conversations. And so there is your time and there is our time as a family, right? And for you to receive your time, your payday of your time, you have to spend time and money in our time, right? So that conversation has to be had ahead of time. You get a 30-minute chunk for every 30 minutes I get. You get a 30-minute chunk for every hour I get. I don't care how you negotiate, but that conversation, the open communication and the expectation of we are going to do some adulting kind of things at this family setting. There's an expectation that you listen to your grandparents, that you make eye contact with them, that you hold up a family standard, whatever that is. If your family standards is yes, sir, and no, sir, and how can I help you, then that conversation has to be had before going into the door.
All right, thank you for that. Any additional questions? Anyone else? One more over here.
Hello. I actually do not have a question. I have a piece of advice for you because I have a teenager now and have lived through 2. And thought this year, we're actually going to the beach for Christmas. And I thought, this is going to be great. She's going to love it. And it was, I don't understand, Mom. Why are we doing that? It's winter. Okay, great. So it was already shot. So her job this year is to come up with 3 family activities, fun holiday games that we all have to play together. And that completely switched her. And so she spent the last 2 weeks like building this entire like game set for the week we're at the beach. So just throwing that idea out for you.
Delegating. That's part of the takeaways that we have today, delegating. Any other questions? One over here in the middle.
Thank you. My question goes to something you said right at the beginning, that it takes 7 years to hardwire your brain to behave differently. My experience with families is their brains aren't hardwired to me being different. So And I'm not willing to let that go in the moment. So how can I cope with that?
So you've got to set your boundaries for you at the front. And that's why when I was saying we have neurotypical patterns, right? We have patterns of behavior. Our siblings, our family around us, they're going to fall into that pattern of behavior and they're going to expect you to fall into it. But if you're the person who doesn't want to fall into that, then you have to prep yourself ahead of time of how do I want to avert that? How do I want to avoid that? How do I want to remove myself from that? While at the same time keeping the peace and loving them well, right? So for an example that may make more sense if I make it a little personal for a while, my mother was a very negative person, and her speech was very negative. I was hardwired with that kind of Eeyore mentality in my speech. And it took me a long time and a lot of work, intentional work, to re-hardwire my language and my mouth to speak the positive. I want to be a fountain and not a drain. We all know people who are drains that suck the life out of us every time they walk into the room without speaking. And we also know people who are fountains, who leave us with more than what we had when we walked in. And so in dealing with my mother over the years and shifting my language to not fall in line with her language, when she would go into one of those Eeyore moments, I would say, Mom, not today. Today, we're going to have joy. And then do that crazy thing like start singing Jingle Bells or do something that made her laugh. Do you remember that time when we told you could no longer play Monopoly with us because you're so competitive and you like to live on Park Place, right? So those things that bring joy, when you shift negative, you have to shift it with positive. And so when she would go to negative, my opposite is positive, right? So figure out your people's pattern and then you've got to have the opposite. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Any other questions? I think we right here.
When you put up the video clip, I thought you might show the Saturday Night Live skit where the family's sitting around the table and right, and they start talking about politics, and then one of the kids walks over and pushes a button on a CD player, and Adele starts playing, right? And all of a sudden, everybody calms down, and then the song finishes, and the little girl says, "Thank you, Adele," right? Yeah. So I've noticed with my kids that they could be just scratching and clawing at each other on the way to school in the mornings, and I can turn on the radio, and all of a sudden they just chill. It's just like this soothing effect that. So, what role could music play? You talked about singing Jingle Bells, and what role could like just playing Christmas music at the family gathering or something like that play in kind of chilling everybody?
I think it's a great idea, but you have to learn a little bit about the kind of music that is actually going to be soothing for the person. It might not be Christmas carols, it might be Adele, or it might be a rap song, or, it's going to be, it's one of the things I recommended with people over the pandemic is if your family's going crazy, have a dance party. It's another thing that you can do is just put on some music and everybody dance. So it's a very good addition to what we've been talking about.
So I'm a super fan of music, and my undergrad degree is actually in music. I wanted to go into the music therapy for a long time, and the benefits of the arts to the brain is beyond words, okay? But just like she said, you've got to know the kind of music that's going to be opposite. If your family tends to be sad, if you're missing someone at the table, and that's put you in a sad space or a hard place, then you don't want to play melancholy kinds of songs, right? Your brain needs something that's going to be more upbeat and lift you out, right? Music is impactful. It is a language of our soul and our natural rhythms. If you put music on and you watch a baby, that baby will intentionally begin to move to the beat, right? Even if it's just in a diaper, that body begins to move. We all have a rhythm of our soul. And so understanding the room you're in and what are the rhythms of that family and what's gonna help them be in a better place, or they're already in this great place and we just wanna add to it. There's a rhythm. Find it.
Any other questions? No? Well, I'm just going to recap it. So far I've learned, and correct me if I'm wrong, feel free to jump in, is one, know your audience, set some guidelines and expectations, continue to have grace and compassion, have a code word, which is super important. Ooh, sorry. And last but not least, try to have fun during this holiday season. And, kind of to sum this up, are there any additional resources that we can give to the audience that could be useful to them?
Breathe.
Just breathe.
Yeah, that age-old trick of 3 deep breaths before you let anything come out of your mouth, right? And also prepping yourself mentally. This is who I am in this place. And remember, stay away from the negative in your mind. I'm not going to. Your brain just hears the word that comes after that. I'm not going to be angry. Your brain hears angry, and that's what it ends on. And so shift your message to yourself. I'm going to find joy. I'm going to find something that makes me laugh, right? Don't repeat in your head the things you're not going to do. Repeat the opposite and put it in a positive frame. Keep a positive mindset.
Awesome, and continue to make beautiful memories. Let's give our 2 experts a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Awesome. I loved it. Thank you guys so much. I have to say the music thing is so interesting to me, and like talking about the making memories. My granddad, for when I was, I'm the oldest of 5 siblings, so we got all of this going on with everybody. But since I was little, my granddad had granddad's Christmas party, and it was for the grandkids, and it was always around music, and he would put on records, and we would sing and dance to all these old songs. And they're no longer here, my grandmother and granddad, but we still have it. And my brother Jonathan is hosting it now, and all the grandkids and my parents and everybody still come, but it's around music. And I think that's so interesting because there's so many differences in all those siblings and our parents and the spouses and everybody, but music brings people together at a really special level that is just, it really is, it's like a miracle for our family, truly, to get kind of through some, being together and all the things that come up with that. So love that. Thank you guys so much. So before y'all go, I have a little something for each of you. So this is a new mural that is right downtown in the River Market, and this is for your desk, and it's just a reminder of fun. Our city is really big on fun, and we have a lot of fun outings in our city, but just a reminder of joy and bringing fun to your life and how important that is for all of us. So thank you guys again for being here. Appreciate it. So before we adjourn today, a quick reminder that now is the time to make sure you get your Q1 book club books. So we have some amazing book club meetings coming up. Mitch Bettis is doing, I think, the one in January on a book about Lincoln and leadership. And then we have a couple others. Christina's doing one on the 12-week. What was it again? The 12-week year. Yeah, that one's in my cart in Amazon right now. So now's the time to put them on your Christmas list and get these and read a little bit during your Christmas vacation. That is it for today. I want to remind you that next week is going to be fabulous. We're just going to network, have some eggnog together, and Rodney Block and Bijou are going to play. You would not want to miss it because you want to talk about getting in the Christmas spirit, guys. It's going to kick it off. So see y'all next week. Thanks.